Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Book of Love podcast with your matchmaker and dating coach, Geneva Dickey. This is a podcast that interviews singles in all stages of singlehood, and we sit down with experts to discuss dating in today's modern day culture. Now, today's episode is a little bit special, but it's also a little bit lazy because the business is so busy. I cannot talk about how busy the business is in a good way. But unfortunately, the first thing to fall by the wayside is me getting guests, coming into the studio and recording a podcast. And so today is a bit of a treat. I am going to be sharing with you the free workshop we did last weekend where we were teaching women why men do what they do and what men wish women knew when dating. This was a really powerful workshop. It was myself and our male dating coach, Sean, sitting down to discuss myths and answer questions about why men do what they do. Now, gentlemen, if you're listening, I would love for you to continue to listen and tell me, do you agree with what we're talking about? And if not, I would love for you to email me at jematchmaking@gmail.com because I can learn everything about the male psyche because I am not a man. So the more perspectives I get, the better, okay? And ladies, really give this a full listen and truly open your mind to this. I know that a lot of the things we're going to talk about is going to be so different than what you believe or what you're told or what you hear on the media or from friends or family or what have you, but it's true and it's going to make your dating life so much easier. Understanding the opposite sex and why they do what they do makes our dating lives so much easier and reduces so much frustration. So this is a really, really powerful episode. But before we get into it, let's talk about why J-E Matchmaking is so busy. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I changed my name. So on all social medias, and we're going to do this slowly, but on all social medias, I changed my name from J-E Matchmaking to Book of Love Canada. This is the final name change. Who here remembers when it was Speed Dating Halifax? That was forever ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. And then we were J-E Matchmaking, and then finally Book of Love Canada. Now, why did I change it to this? Number one, everybody was just calling my business the Book of Love because that is what our matchmaking database is called. Plus, it's what this podcast is called. So I'm like, well, let's just go full circle. And so we will be changing everything. And we're going to be doing a rebrand as well. So we're going to be have a full new little facelift of the business, new colors, new feel, new energy, new look. Let me know what you think when we launch it. It's going to happen here in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We're taking it slow, letting people get used to it, but it's going to be a blast. I always love a fresh start, honestly. I love change. I don't like the same thing over and over again. So we're going to have a nice new fresh start. And then of course, events. Events are all launched for June and July. We have a speed dating event tomorrow that's sold out. We got lots of other speed dating events coming out, but my favorite event coming up is the summer party, July 9th at the Daily Grind. And that's going to be close to 100 singles coming in to the Daily Grind and mixing and mingling. When was the last time you walked into a room and knew that everybody there was single without coming to one of my events? It's pretty rare. So I'm really excited to have a summer party down there. Fingers crossed that the evening is beautiful so we can hit out the patio and we can be inside and we can enjoy all of it. Now, coaching, we have one-on-one coaching programs, of course. The boot camps, we're in the middle of one, but we're going to be launching a male and women's boot camp in September again. So if that interests you, they'll be coming up at the end of the summer. But other than that, let's get into today's episode. Now let's get into this. So the free dating webinar for women, what men wish women knew when dating. So why I started this webinar in particular, and it is brand new content from anything I've done before, is I did a men's only boot camp with Sean a Coin, and it was just men. Now, becoming a matchmaker dating coach, I learned a lot about men dating, how they work, how they think, how they love, what it is they're looking for. I have learned a lot over the last 4 years of being a matchmaker and dating coach on how men think around the spectrum of dating and choosing a partner. But even still, when I went in and started, number one, working with Sean, and number two, doing this male boot camp, I had epiphany after epiphany after epiphany of
how men think and why they do what they do. And so I wanted to take all of that I was learning, and I wanted to share it with all of you, because it has made my experience dating, when I was dating, as well as my experience as a matchmaker dating coach, so much easier, because I'm understanding the psyche. Now, we are going to go through a lot of the questions that you asked when registering for this webinar. And one sinking feeling that I feel when I read through those questions is, I just wish that I could unscrew my head and my knowledge about how men think and just screw it onto each one of your heads, because it just makes life so much easier when we understand the opposite sex. All of the questions that you are asking, a lot of them in that, if you were to just understand how men think and why they do what they do, it answers all of those questions, and it makes our experience so much better. So that is why I decided to do this webinar. So thank you so much for everybody who joined in tonight, and all of you that are watching the recording the next morning. Thank you for giving this a watch as well. Now, who am I? Again, we have lots of people on here that know exactly who I am, have worked with me for matchmaking, dating coaching, boot camps, seen me at events, seen me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. But we also have a lot of people here who don't actually really know me or my story. So basically, how I became your local matchmaker and dating coach, it just started with one tiny little humble speed dating event at Lion and Bright in 2017, which is so long ago. And from that event, it grew into a singles event every single month. We just finished up a Bridgewater event this weekend, and it was so amazing. It sold out so fast. The events are going absolutely crazy, which is really exciting. We do group dating boot camps for both men and women now. We do one-on-one proven dating coaching system, which we're going to talk about a lot tonight, the one-on-one proven dating coaching system. We have an honest blog, and we have a weekly podcast called The Book of Love, which is a lot of pure training. You guys, if you haven't gone and listening to that podcast, you can get it wherever it is you register for podcasts. And then an East Coast designed matchmaking system. And what I mean by an East Coast designed matchmaking system, now, when I decided to become a matchmaker, I did research on other matchmakers. And a lot of you, when you're coming to me for matchmaking or coming to me for any of my services, everybody's like, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And I'm like, of course you are. I'm the only matchmaker east of Montreal, and all the other matchmakers do something very different. So they are what we would call, not all of them, but a majority of matchmakers are elite matchmakers, where their clients are men, and the clients pay $10,000 to $50,000 to have lots of women to go on dates with. Whereas we created something that's unique to Nova Scotia culture, that's unique to Nova Scotians, and honestly, I think unique to today's modern culture of dating, which is a beautiful way of dating. So that is what we have created. Now, who am I personally? And basically, I am that person that has made all of the mistakes that you guys make. Every single one of them I have made. I am a recovering man hater. I'm officially completely over my recovery of hating men. My father would be very happy to hear that. When I was in my full man hating mode, he heard it all. He heard the frustration. He heard the burnout. He heard, when I was 32, when I was in my like prime male hating phase, he heard I wasted my 20s, I wasted my early 30s on the wrong guys. What am I doing wrong? And instead of reflecting it on myself and my own mistakes and the things that I was doing wrong, I projected it all onto an entire gender of people, which were men, and I would rip them to pieces every chance I got to anybody who would listen. So that used to be me, and I used to flail in the dating world. And by flail, I mean, okay, this didn't work, so I'm going to do the complete opposite here. And then this didn't work, so I'm going to do complete opposite here. And I just kept basically making the same mistakes over and over again, thinking I knew how to do everything, or thinking I should have known how to do everything, never seeking out any help, and then crashing and burning over and over and over again, and wasting a lot of my time. And then I wanted to find my partner. I really, truly wanted to find my partner. In the past, I was young enough where I could date and I could meet people. And if it turned into something great, if it didn't, that's no big deal. I had all the time in the world. And then I was like, girl, you are 34, you want to have kids and you want to meet somebody and you want to build a life together. Time's a ticking. It's time to stop wasting time. And so on the journey of becoming a matchmaker dating coach, I matchmade and dated coached myself, which basically meant that I went out and made all of the mistakes and then learned from all of those mistakes and then created a pretty cool dating system that is extremely effective on helping other people take control of their dating life and meet somebody amazing. But in the past, I've had long-term relationships. I've been engaged several times, 3 times to be in fact. I had multiple hoe phases. I have dated tall men, short men, beautiful men, ugly men, rich men, poor men, evil men, really kind men. I've dated the gambit. If there was one thing that I knew how to teach, it was how to teach dating. And so along the way, I decided to teach myself how to properly date, choose my partner, and wanted to share that with you because it worked for me. And now it works for lots and lots of other men and women as well. Now, I wanted to introduce our male dating coach, Sean. And I have been working with Sean for a little while, and I have been hesitant to introduce him to everybody only because I have declined working with lots and lots of men claiming to be the male dating coach experts out there. And I never believed them, and they always proved me wrong until I met Sean. He is almost like, the dating coach partner that I was looking to meet. And I felt I'm really blessed to have met him. But I just wanted to say, who is Sean? Because I know that you guys all know me, but who is Sean? Who is this guy that you're starting to hear about on the podcast and you're starting to hear about on social media? So Sean is basically, during the day, a gym teacher, and at night, he's a male dating coach. He also coaches tons of kids' sports leagues, and he's just a genuinely great guy. So he's also my male consultant. So as a matchmaker dating coach, I like to think that I knew everything about men, but then really I still had the female mind, and he really does a great job of keeping me humble and keeping me on track with working with men and allows me to see the services we offer through the male perspective. So he is also the men's consultant for me. He has given countless hours of dating coaching to his amazing women friends. This is actually a really powerful reason why I decided to work with Sean, is because almost right away, and the previous men that have come to me saying, I can be your male dating coach, I could tell right away that it wasn't based on true love of women and true love of wanting to help people and teach men how to properly find their partner. It wasn't based on that. It was based on ego. It was based on insecurity. And it was also a lot of time based on an underlying hatred or bitterness towards women. And we see that a lot in a lot of male dating coaches. If any of you have ever done any research on male dating coaching, you're going to see a lot of pickup artists. You're going to see a lot of just gross dating coaching for men. And he was everything that wasn't. He teaches men how to date, how to treat women properly, how to design the perfect date. And he also helps them choose the compatible partner for them. But again, the main reason why I decided to work with him is because he loves women. His unique form of dating coaching is based on his love for women, which includes his mother, his sisters, all of his best friends, but also on the women clients that he works with me, as well as he's a single guy and he is also out there pursuing partnership as well. But there's so much love there and appreciation there as well. And I see it all the time. So that's why I decided to work with Sean. Sean, any chance you want to turn on your video and just say hi to everybody?
Hello, ladies. Happy to be here. And thank you for the introduction, Geneva. I want to make sure that I put it out there. Ladies, don't make my male presence hold you back, okay, from asking any questions or anything like that. Because as a dating coach, I've heard it all, and I hear it all, and I continue to hear it all. So there's really not a lot that you can ask or say that's really gonna throw me back. So yeah, do not. I'm excited to be here. Excited to answer a lot of your questions and help you out any way I can.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sean, and taking the time out to do this. So Rule number one with working with J-E Matchmaking in any capacity is no bashing of the opposite sex. And so since women are here, we all know there's no bashing of men here. And what I wanted to talk about, and I noticed this in a lot of the questions that were asked, was what we're going to be talking about here today about what men wish women knew. This is completely irrelevant, and we are not talking about the men that are players, assholes, married yet dating, and douchebags. Okay, so often so the content we're going to create and give to you today, it applies to the men that are genuinely kind, high value men out there looking for their person, okay? Or even if they aren't verbalizing that they're looking for their person, they're just genuinely good guys out there looking for love, okay? And there are lots and lots and lots of them. Lots of them, okay? So it's human nature to spend 90% of our time ruminating on 10% of the population. We are not going to be doing that on this webinar because we only have an hour and a half, 2 hours together. And so we're not going to be wasting our time on those types of questions of, married men, assholes, experiences with the people that don't deserve our time to even be spoken about, because it's better, that time is better taken to talk about finding the guys that are good, that are high value, and are what it is you are looking for. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and I can jump in on that, saying that, in my, what I do when I work with male clients, and Geneva can attest for too, if I've seen it before where you might have a male come in and he wants, he wants to use our services because he wants me to teach him how to pick up women, how to be a pickup artist. And as soon as I get one hint of that, I shut it down and say, I think you might have had a misunderstanding of what we actually do, or what I actually do. Because what I do is I teach men how to, be that, high quality man that girls are looking for. And the thing about it is there are great men out there, and I meet them all the time, and that's what we work with them. So when I work with someone, and the guys that we're talking about today in this webinar are not, like Geneva said, the players, as all the and stuff, that the people that get that bad rep. And I'll add on to that, because it says here, example, life as a teacher, like Geneva mentioned. I'm a gym teacher by day, and I've been a gym teacher for 17 years now. And I will have 32 kids every hour, and out of those 32 kids, there are maybe one or two we'll call, bad apples. But, we tend to, if you hear me talk about, if I'm talking to other colleagues, if I'm talking to friends, who am I going to talk about? I'm probably going to talk about those two bad apples that I have, because they take up, 90% of my time, or 98% of my time. Most of my time is spent, managing those kids, but the rest of the class, they're amazing, and everybody's amazing. So, I think that can relate to dating too, is that, the majority of the guys that I meet and that I work, and all the guys that I work with are amazing guys, and they're really good guys. But the problem is, sometimes what happens is that, it's just human nature that we focus on negativity. So we go out, we have one bad date, we remember that. We dated one guy who was an absolute douchebag, and we only focus on that. And then next, unfortunately, sometimes we put every other guy in that box, and where they don't belong in that box. Right. So that's really why I like the focus is, we're not, so those guys are a small percentage, but yet they get 90% of our attention.
And our mental bandwidth, and they don't deserve it. They literally do not deserve it.
Yeah.
So I just want you guys to know to stay till the very end, because we are going to be going into Q&A. This is my favorite part. We are, of course, have a presentation for you that's prepared, but Q&A is my favorite part. Now, these are some of the questions we're going to be answering in Q&A, but a lot of it's going to fill up the chat as well. So we're going to prioritize your guys' questions at the end. So if you have any questions as we discuss this webinar, write it down and throw it into that chat box at the end, because we are going to be covering a lot of stuff. But this includes some basically overflow of questions that have been asked when they're registering for this webinar, but we wanted to answer them, so we have that in the Q&A, okay? But let's just jump into the presentation as well, because the Q&A is such a powerful part that we want to get to it as quickly as possible. Now, I really wanted to do this webinar for this concept specifically. And this concept is what I call, and I was at a party a couple weekends ago, and a friend of mine said this sentence that I've never heard before. And so I decided to adopt it, and I'm going to trademark it so he'll never be able to use it again. But one person's ick is another person's yum. And this is something that I wanted to communicate is my experience as a matchmaker, because I did not realize this until after becoming a matchmaker dating coach. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an outline and example of what I'm talking about. We have a man, we'll call him a matchmaking client, okay? Matchmaking client number one. And now we don't, of course, show them 7 women, but say I were to show him 7 women's profiles in the Book of Love. And I ask him, okay, based on these 7 women profiles that I think you're compatible with, I want you to pick your top 2, like your top 2 favorite, and I want you to pick your bottom 2 favorite, okay? So let's say he does this, and let's say he picks client 5 and client number 2 as like his preferred client. It's like, yes, I really want to meet her, okay? And then he picks client number 1 and client number 4 as his bottom. They're my least favorite. You know, they're great, they're lovely gals. They are just not my yum, basically, okay? So we'll put them in that category. Now, say, for example, I have another client, another male client, completely different, client number 2. He comes in, and I have that same group of women, those same 7 women, and I ask him to tell me your top 2 favorite and tell me your bottom 2 least favorite women, based on your ick to yum. And he will then choose client number 4 and client number 3, client number 5 and client number 7. What blows my mind every single time is that one person's bottom can be another man's like, that is my dream woman. And the one man's dream woman can be another man's, she's not my type. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to bring this concept to a front with you, because when I was out dating, and say, for example, I didn't get a match, or I got rejected, or I didn't get asked on a second date, or someone said I wasn't a good romantic fit, or someone says that I wasn't their type and they're not attracted to me, I would take that all completely in to me, and I would say, I'm too big, I'm too loud, I'm too intimidating, I'm too successful. It's because I'm a matchmaker dating coach. It's because I said this one thing on this date. It's because, you know, whatever it is. It's because I have blue eyes instead of brown eyes. All the brown girls are so beautiful. You know, I took that inwards, and that would like cripple me for a long time. Like maybe, and it would prevent me from going out there and meeting the guy that says yum when he sees me, okay? And so that's what I wanted to communicate with you guys. And it's so funny because I could have this female client's profile, and I could show that, and all the women that are in the Book of Love, you know that I'm showing usually the women's profile to the men first, mostly because of this theory in general. Men just look and they know very quickly if she is his person or not, or he is interested to see her or not. And so we show the men, the females, the woman's profile first. She could be rejected by like 5 men. And, you know, in my early stages of matchmaking, I would, you know, okay, maybe I won't show her to the other guy that comes in that they're really compatible with, because she was already declined by, you know, these 5 men. So But then what I realized is I could send her profile to one guy and he's just like, that is my dream woman. And this happens on a weekly basis. Okay. And so one thing that I wanted this to really, I was going to do this at the very end, but I wanted to start this seminar with this is just because you are not someone's type means that you don't need to spend any more energy on them. It has far less to do with you than you think it does. And so I want to go into, what this theory means to me. And it means to me, number one, if you're rejected because you are not his type, it doesn't mean you are undesirable. It really, truly doesn't. We are not everybody's type, just like not everybody is our type. And it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It doesn't even mean that they're unattractive. It just means that they're not our type. And we don't want to put our energy into that. And men are allowed to do this as well. Number two, do not waste your energy on someone who isn't into you. Your time and energy is better spent looking for someone that goes yum when they see you. And again, for some reason, we make the men a villain for us not being their type. It doesn't mean that he's a bad guy either. It just means that we're not his cup of tea and therefore he's not our cup of tea, and vice versa. If he wasn't our cup of tea, he shouldn't be pursuing us anymore either, because that's just a waste of energy. Okay. So I, as quickly as possible, want you all to figure out if someone is into you, and they know very quickly. I want you to find out as quickly as possible if they're into you. And if they're not, move on. Move on and take your energy elsewhere until you find someone that's like, yummy, okay? I found my yummy and my life is so much better walking into every room and knowing that he's saying yummy, okay? And it was not spent chasing after people where I was his yuck, okay? So trust me when I say there's nothing you can do to change a man's mind once he's determined you are not his type romantically. There was a question in one of your questions saying, how do I go from friend to romance? You can't. You cannot go from friend to romance with a man because he has determined very quickly when he first met you that is not going to be romantic, and he puts you in the little friend. I don't even like the word friend zone, but he has determined that you're going to be friends. There's nothing you can do. He's determined it already. So it's better to take your energy elsewhere. Sean, do you agree with that? I might be just spouting craziness, but
no, I was waiting to jump in here because I 100% agree with what you're saying. I always say to clients that nature has taken care of attraction already. So there's if someone's not attracted to you, there's nothing you can really do to change that. More so for men, and that I'll get into. I find, and one of the things that working as a dating coach and working with both men and women is the one thing that you learn and through, as you know, Geneva, through our courses that we teach about attraction, and we teach about, and it's very the male mindset and the female mindset, and what is attractive to a woman is different from what is attractive to a man. Like men are attracted differently. You're talking about, someone's, ick is another one's young. I can straight up say, like, I mean, my best friend, who's also my gym partner, like we'll be at the gym and hey, guys do that, they'll check out girls at the gym, and every once in a while he'll point someone out, or even anywhere. We can be at the beach, we can be anywhere, and he points someone out, and 9 times out of 10, every single time I'm like, oh yeah, no, she's not my jam. And all of a sudden I'll point a girl out and he's like, yeah, no, not my jam. So that right there, and I mean, we are, if people say that me and my best friend are like the same person, we have the same interests, we like to do the same thing, all those different things, which is why we're best friends. But when it comes to what we're attracted to, it's something completely different. And the number 4 where it says here that you have here is that men are visual. They know instantly who they are attracted to and want to pursue. That's 100% true. Men are very visual, and it's funny how we are. They could like we'll go into a room and there will be 100 women in the room or whatever, and all of a sudden a girl catches your eye, and that guy instantly knows that he's attracted to her. He will, or he'll see a girl walk by. There's a funny thing about the girl walking by the street, and the guy will say, "Oh my God, that is my future wife right there." He hasn't even met her yet. He hasn't even said 2 words to her yet. It's his dream girl. Like, oh, yeah. So that's why, like when you talk about, doing the matchmaking and showing the picture to the guy, because a guy knows instantly if he's attracted, if he's going on to pursue. I see it so many times. I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of going somewhere and getting a girl's number, being like, who is that girl I need to talk to, or go up, get her number, and and then all of a sudden I'm leaving the place and I'm doing backflips, like, oh yes, whatever, and guys are and guys are like this, and we're already thinking about, oh geez, what our life is going to look like together, and what even what our kids look like, and this, and all you got was a number and like a short, like 5-10 minute conversation. You don't even know her yet. So that's a lot of times what I try to teach, because like females, it's a lot different. It's confidence is attractive. It's very how you hold yourself, all those different things. It's not so much with males. It is, but in a different way.
I want to talk about one thing that you said there. Actually, we're going to get off track a lot here. I feel we're going to stay on track though. But you were talking about pictures with like online dating and how they can. Okay, so this is something else that blew my mind when I became a matchmaker too. Is I could show someone a picture, and he could say whatever. I could ask him like, okay, what do you think she does for a living? Blah blah blah. He will say, she's introverted. She does, high-end something for a living. She is lacking a little bit of confidence, but, kind of faking the confidence. And he lists off all these things, and it's exactly right based on what I know about her, just from one picture of her smiling. And he can determine a lot about her just from a picture. And this is what I want to talk about. We're not going to talk about pictures and online dating in this seminar, but there was a question that was asked, what is the most important thing about online dating, or what are men looking for? You have to have stunning pictures. And if you think your pictures are stunning, they're not stunning enough, you have to elevate them. Kick in the butt right there. Men can look at a picture and know everything about a woman. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, 100%. It's very, and it's amazing, and Malcolm Gladwell talks about it in his book Blink. It's amazing how much information we get in the blink of an eye, and we really, so that's why working with clients, we really want to have them have pictures that really show who they are.
I spent a lot of energy on that. Yeah, agreed. Oh my God, it's so great having you here, Sean. Okay, men need to really step up their photos. Yes, they do. We all know that. We're working on it now. We're working on it one guy at a time. We're trying to get them to step up their profiles as well. Yes. But it doesn't mean that we don't elevate our profiles, even if theirs are not. But it is tricky, girl. I got to show you some before and afters of some of my clients. I think I put a couple up, like some of the guy clients, a huge difference. Okay. So here are some questions that you guys have asked, and we basically taken the most asked questions and created some answers to it. Basically, why do men seem to be so intimidated by women who are independent? I am an ambitious woman. Why would I only attract emotionally unavailable men? What is it about an independent woman that scares men away? Are men intimidated by confident women? I have had a couple of men tell me they felt they couldn't offer me the same lifestyle that I provide for myself financially. They both admitted feeling insecure about it. Is there anything I could say or do to let a man know that I am not looking for someone to take care of me financially? I told both of them this, and they remained as insecure, or they both remain insecure. Okay. Why do men seem to be intimidated by women who are independent? People say I'm intimidating because I own my house, my car, have a great job. Why can't guys appreciate all that I've accomplished? Okay. So this is all under an umbrella here. This is all under an umbrella that I want to discuss. So one thing that I know, high value men, high quality, independent, driven, successful men love independent and successful women. They love them. They love them. They prefer them. High value quality men love independent women. They want a partner that is living their purpose, making a difference in the world, love their life, and then can add value to others. There's nothing more sexy than a woman who does not need a man and is living their own life. But what men don't love is that I don't need no man type of independent woman, okay? An independent woman does not need to, like a truly independent woman does not need to tell everybody and scream from the rooftops that she is an independent woman. She just is, okay? So there's a difference between somebody who has their shit together, a woman who has their shit together and is just existing in that life, okay? And then there's a difference between a woman who has their shit together and on the first date will say either come to my level or go away, or I don't need no man, or I make my own money, I can do this. It has less to do with what you have and all the things that you've accomplished, and you should be proud of that, and it's a beautiful thing, but it is how you communicate that to the men that you're dating, okay? It's two very, very different things. Why in the dating world do we think our accomplishments in life is more important than our ability to be kind, caring, thoughtful, loving, happy, healthy, and genuine? When you are making a new friend, do you list all the things that you own and all the things that you've accomplished, how far you've come and what your job title is? No, you're developing a relationship with that person. You're becoming reliable. You're sharing stories from childhood. You're sharing anecdotes from work. You're talking about fun stuff. And yet when we're out looking for a life partner on a first date, out comes the resume, out comes the accomplishments. And don't get me wrong, men are just as guilty of this as we are. But this is not what is important in dating. It's not important in dating. Yes, this will eventually be shown to him as he gets to know you more. And yes, this is not conducive to just one situation. Guaranteed, there's lots of men out there. Gosh, when I was dating and I was a matchmaker dating coach, I was thinking about not having matchmaker or dating coach on my online dating profile because it would scare a lot of men away because it was intimidating. You best believe it scared a lot of men away, but I kept it on there because my boyfriend saw that I was a matchmaker dating coach. He's like, I want to go on a date with a matchmaker dating coach. And here we are today, almost 2 years later. Life is good. But at the same time, I had lots of guys being like, well, how many guys, single men, do you work with on a daily basis? That will make me jealous. And I'm just like, okay, red flag. So a lot of this is the fact that you are filtering out the men that are not confident enough to be able to handle your independent and successful lifestyle. But at the same time, how are you communicating this to men? Okay. What do you think about this, Sean?
Men love independent women. It's the same thing like for females, if a man is needy, it's not attractive. Well, it's the same thing for men. If women are if they feel that they're needy, it's not gonna be attractive for them. In general, they're looking for someone who's got their own life, who's got friends, you're looking at it like, okay, or if I know when I go on dates and a lot of clients that I know that those high value men that when they go on dates, they're looking to know that, like, okay, can this person can they take care of themselves independently, etc. But are they do they have a good work life balance? Do they, how are they close to their family? Do they have close friends? Do they have hobbies? Do they do things? Because just like women, like, men don't want their freedom to all of a sudden disappear if all of a sudden they start dating someone. So I don't I think you're right with that, and I also believe too that if honestly, if a man is like intimidated by your independence, you might that is a red flag, and you might want to start peeling the layers a bit more of that onion to figure out, like, why is this person so intimidated by my independence, because, and especially as we get older. That's my that's my belief on that. I really do believe that that's what they're looking for.
Agreed, 100%. And like when I have a guy come through, and he's looking like for his person through matchmaking, and he is accomplished and makes good money, and he does well for himself. He is looking for that, but at the same time, he's looking for that successful and independent, purpose-driven woman. But he's also looking for somebody that he can be comfortable with, that is caring and can be soft and can be feminine and can be kind and independently happy prior to meeting him. Like, there's a lot more that goes into it, but the independence and successfulness is one piece of that, but there's so much more as well.
Yes, definitely.
I love it. So yeah, I know we have a lot that was asked a lot about why are men intimidated by independent women. They're not. Boys are very intimidated by independent women, in which case, bye, Felicia. But then again, if it's happening consistently, even with high value men, we have to reflect back on how are we communicating this? Have you ever been on a date with a guy and he says, I drive a BMW, I've accomplished this is how far I've come in work, and this is what I do, and this is what, and he's vomiting all the things that he has accomplished, and it's icky. It gives you the ick. And so let's be cognizant, and it's not all of us, but let's be cognizant. Are we doing that too? Are we putting that across on a first date as well? I want you to kind of reflect on the past first dates. And if not, then it's just the wrong guys for you, in which case keep going. But if so, let's think about stepping back a little bit on that and allowing them to see all that from us, from our actions rather than our words, okay? Another thing that was asked a ton, what is the first thing men want to know when meeting a woman for the first time? What real qualities are men looking for in a woman? What do men look for most on the first date? What is the best first date when meeting someone from online dating? What are men's true expectations and their intentions when meeting for a first or second date? I always have lots of first dates, but rarely can I get on a second date. What am I doing wrong? I believe I should communicate my boundaries, needs, and goals from dating early on, first or second date, but once I do, they ghost me. I get so nervous on a first date, I don't know why. I always kick myself after the first date because on reflection, I never act like myself. Okay, so this is really interesting because I do a lot of follow-up with men after matchmaking dates, with a lot of men. And if it doesn't go well, like if he's like, no, there's no romantic connection, I always ask, okay, there's no romantic connection this time. What is it that you are looking for in a woman that I can keep an eye out for you for future matches? What is it that where there wasn't a connection? I want all of you to start hitting up the chat section right now. Can you guess what the number one requested thing is for a first date? And if you don't understand, like the question's a little broad, but what's the number one requested thing for a first date? Like if the date didn't go well, what does he want on the next date with his next match? Start hitting it up. We're not going to judge you, I swear. Sense of humor, love it. Something fun, love it. More physical cues, feel comfortable and welcoming. Positivity, good conversation, asking more questions, confidence. Cool. What else we got? Happiness, Sandra, yes. Providing too much information, touching, laid back, flirting. Good job. Actually, you guys did much better in that than I thought you would, because probably I've told you a lot about this. Flirting, tonguey face, got it. So the number one thing that men want on a first date is playfulness and fun. Easygoing, relaxed fun. Good job, you guys. How are we at having a playful and fun date? I want to ask you that. Or maybe you guys can reflect on what you think. You guys, you're welcome to ask some questions. I know there's some hand raised here. Feel free to throw your question in the chat there. Really bad. Catherine says really bad. I love it. Any raised hands, feel free to put it in the chat there. This is like a little bit more of like an interactive question. Sean, how do you feel about playfulness and fun on a first date? What does that look like for you?
I don't want it to feel like an interview, to be honest. I like, a first date. I always, at first date, don't go with something too extravagant. Something, do something that, if it's going for drinks, going for a walk, doing, anything like that. Anything that's, that doesn't feel like you're sitting down and having an interview. And it's playful, fun, good banter. It's just really, the first date should really just be getting to know someone, and seeing if, if there's something there for a second date. Can I have fun with this person? Because dating should be fun, and it should be fun. Can I see myself have fun with this person?
Yeah.
But if it feels so more like an interview where I'm, I don't want to go and have to give my resume out to someone on a first date. I want to just learn more about them, and just see if there's something there.
Yeah, agreed. And we had a lot of questions when signing up for this. If any of you are listening and you had any of these questions, when should I tell somebody that I don't want kids? When should I tell somebody that, whatever it was? There was a lot of things like that. Like, when should I tell somebody this? And even in one of those questions prior to this slide, it said, I communicate all my boundaries on the first date or the second date, and I can't get onto it. What's going on? Listen, when we're going on a first date, there's no guarantee of a second date because there's no guarantee of any connection. On average, if you're going on first dates from online dating and you go on 10 first dates from online dating, 2, if you're lucky, will turn into second dates, maybe 3. Okay. So there's no guarantee that there's connection enough anyhow. So why are we sprouting all about this on a first date? I have this amazing friend. She's a very dear friend of mine. She is, her mother is getting older. Her brother is special needs, and they're not going to be putting him in any type of assisted care. They have always said that they're going to be taking care of him. So her mother and her brother are going to be moving in with her. She's still single. She's still dating. She was planning on having it in her profile. She was planning on talking about it on the first date. I was like, they don't even know you. They haven't even earned this beautiful part of you yet. Okay. So the first date truly is to see if there's a connection. And, if the conversation comes up, like if he literally asks you, do you want to have kids? Of course, 100% be honest. If that's said before a date or on the date, yeah, 100% be honest. But if it doesn't come up, remember, that's for the second or third date. The first date is just to see if there's connection. And there's a very good chance there may not be connection. So why do they even need to know this at that point? Now, this is a little bit back and forth. Like, do you agree with that, Sean? Because a lot of people think it should be said earlier, which I totally understand if you agree with that, but.
No, I mean, I see it too many times, where people go on a first date and they just say to, I mean, we're not trying to hide anything either. So I want to make that clear. And we're not trying to trick people. We're not trying to hide anything from people. If it comes up in conversation, it comes up in conversation. That's just it. If you're talking about something and all of a sudden that comes up in conversation, for example, I tell people, to avoid talking about exes on the first date. But there's been some times where it just sort of, it comes out, it just sort of sips out. But because that's normal. But if it is it in conversation type of thing, I mean, don't bring out all your dirty laundry right away. Like, here, what, and also just stay positive. Be positive. On the first date, and honestly, it's really just try to find out if there's something. I just know for me personally, I will say if I go on a first date, chances are it's going to be something like a drink or a coffee or walk, something like that. It's gonna be an hour. I'm just gonna see like is something there, because and then usually on the second date it's just so like women know, if a guy's asking you out on a second date, it's probably because he's interested.
Dates are expensive. Guys are not going to ask women on dates just for fun.
And you know what? I don't know if we even get into that in this webinar, but hopefully, but I'll say too, as a male, dating is very expensive, and you have to think like I would never ever let a female pay on the first date, and so it can get really expensive because I'm a strong believer that chivalry is not dead, and I want to, you know, I will pay. So you got to think that, like, if you're, you know, if you're going on like if you're dating multiple people, going on a few days as a man, like that can be expensive. And so probably want to keep it you know, little cheaper on the first date. But you know what, then usually if there's a second date, I splurge a bit more. So you know, that's also, you know, for knowing if a guy's attracted to you, if he's into you. Chances are, if he's asked you out for a second date, he's into you, because that means he's ready to, you know, drop some money, some dough. And you know what, and also the thing too, and even at that, if a guy asks you out even on a first date, he's probably into you, because as a male, it means that this is going to cost you, you know. So that's key. And I think, because I always hear this all the time working with men and women, like, I, you know, from the male perspective, I hear men talk about how expensive dating can be. And I hear from females that I work with, like, say like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I love dating, I'll go on, you know, like, and I find that, like, females will, you know, date multiple men and whatever it's like. But like, I say, I sometimes, I will be honest, and I'll look at them and say, okay, but are you paying for those dates? And they're like, oh well, no. I'm like, yeah. So look at it from the male perspective. Like, a guy is probably going to be a little more selective
Yeah.
when on who he's going to ask out on a date, because he knows that it's going to that it's going to cost him money. And I know it's like that for me, you know. And so yeah, sometimes it could be, you never know. Like, even sometimes because I've seen some of the questions that we've had, and it's like, well, you know, like, sometimes girls get frustrated that guys are, you know, waiting to ask them out on a date. Well, I sometimes say to females, you also have to think from your perspective. Maybe he's like, you know, dating multiple people now, and he's just waiting for, maybe he's busy, maybe he's also waiting to get like for his paycheck to come in, so he can actually bring you out. Like, you never know, right? There could be different things, like, you know. So because it's a lot more for a guy than to just go out
Yeah.
and just meet you, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Ask a question here that I'm really excited to answer. I know this is a challenge for me. What would the conversation look like if I shouldn't ask too many questions? I get this a lot following up matchmaker dates, where it's like, oh, they didn't ask me any questions back. Conversations are not question, 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 question. Conversations are storytelling. This is something that's really interesting, is like, when people say, what question should I ask on a first date? I'm like, then we have a little bit more of a problem if you can't have a conversation with somebody on a first date that you need a list of questions to reflect on. I mean, they're a great starting point as we get better and better at conversations, but we should talk about how conversations normally flow. You know, conversations are storytelling. You ask a question, they tell a story, and maybe if the conversation flows, you're telling a similar story based on that same question. And that could take 10, 15 minutes. So really, on a first date, we're not asking a ton of questions, we're conversing with people. Do you know what I mean? So if this is, you know, if first dates are hard for you because you don't know how to keep the conversation going, and you don't know what it's going to look like if you're not asking question after question, there's other stuff that we could kind of talk about in that regard. What do you think, Sean?
And we're asking open-ended questions,
Yes.
that have a response, that you can talk about what, you know, whatever they've answered. It's like, you know, so it's a question that allows someone to talk, you know, so that we can ask questions on what they said. I mean, I always look at it to be honest. I mean, maybe it's, you know, part of, like, you know, I've dated a lot, etc. But like, I never, you know, and I think we need to get out of that mindset of, like, I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on going on a date and thinking, oh, I hope that, you know, I don't think and it's common. I mean, it's human nature. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know, or women. I don't know any girl yet who wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I hope I don't get swept off my feet today. Like, that doesn't happen, you know.
Yeah.
So it's human nature that we're going to go out, but we got to make sure that we don't put too much pressure on ourselves, and that we don't go out thinking like, oh, I hope this is the last date I ever go on, I hope this we end up like, no. You know what, look at it like, you know what, if you were going out to meet a friend, you know, and what would you do? You'd go out, you'd have a drink, you'd have a conversation, and so look at it that way, and just look at it like you're going out to meet somebody new, and there could be something, you know, and hopefully something that they've said is sort of interesting, and that there's something there that you, hey, I think I want to like see this person again. And we kind of, they seem really cool.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah. And so that actually, everything you just said kind of talks about this slide too, which is great. And so this goes into the pursuing. So we're running out of a little bit of time, so I'm not going to read through all of these, but basically the question was, do the guys pursue? Should guys be the one doing the chasing? After 1 or 2 days, do men find it needy or annoying if you're communicating via text every day? The answer is yes. Even in 2022, I still feel like I'm supposed to wait for a man to ask me out. Do you agree? So these questions were asked a lot about pursuit. And I really, really wanted Sean's opinion on this. But before we do, I want to talk about the white handkerchief or the handkerchief thing, where sometimes we forget what making a first move is and what pursuing is, okay? So often, in culture and women today, we're thinking we just have to sit there and just hope someone comes over and asks us to dance. You know what I mean? But that's not what we do. We have to be very proactive. And so what Matt Hussey, which is the king of dating coaches, as you all know, what Matt Hussey says is the difference between making a move and pursuing the white handkerchief movement. So in Victorian times, when a handsome gentleman walked by, the lady would drop her handkerchief on the ground purposely, because she's like, oh, he cute. And being in the time and give the handkerchief back in a very chivalrous manner. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I dropped my handkerchief. And they have a conversation, and that bridges the gap of conversation and connection between the two of them, that tiny little interaction. Who do you think made the introduction there? Definitely was not the dude, okay? It was definitely the woman choosing her person, dropping her handkerchief, and the conversation ensued from there. It was up to him to pursue her to see her again. It was up to him to get her contact information in Victorian days. I don't know what that looks like. But it was up to him to continue the pursuit after that. But you best believe she was a facilitator of that introduction. Now, I want to talk about what modern day the white handkerchief is, okay? So I used to do this all the time when I was out dating. I would go out with my girlfriends, and my girlfriends at the time were like, we're not talking to any men. We're just here to dance and enjoy each other. And I'm like, girls, I'm here to meet some dudes. Anyhow, so once their drinks were done, basically I would eye up the bar and I would choose the guy that I wanted to talk to. The waitress could have easily come over and, refilled my drink or got me another drink. But I'm like, no, I'm going to go to the washroom and I'm going to get my drink from the bar. I went right up to the bar right next to where he was sitting, and I got my drink. And I turned to the person on my left and I said hi, and I turned to him and I said hi. I got my drink, and he was interested. He was going to start the conversation, and he was going to make the move to get my number or to continue the conversation or what have you. If he wasn't interested, which goes back to that first piece, if I wasn't his type, and I was standing next to him getting my drink, and I said hi to him and I said hi to her on my left, him not continuing the conversation was completely up to him. And I did not continue it if he didn't, because that was my white handkerchief moment. And him not deciding to pursue was his decision that I wasn't his type, which is totally fine. In which case, when I went to refill another drink, I would go to another guy and see if he would start the conversation. Okay, so this is a white handkerchief example. Initiating the conversation online dating, but allowing him to kind of, and I know this hits a lot of people hard because there's so low effort conversations going on online dating. Again, we're not looking at the low effort, but if the conversation is going well, I usually like, unless there's a hint being like, are we ever going to go on a date, or are we going to remain pen pals forever? I allow him to plan the date. I allow him to set the time. I allow him to do that. And if he doesn't, then I will, I'll take my attention elsewhere. Smiling at him from across the room so he knows it's okay to approach you, asking him for the internet password at a cafe. This was my go-to pickup. I would sit at cafes, even though I was working away on the internet. The next time somebody sat down next to me, I'd be like, do you know what the password is? And it was just that tiny little handkerchief gap that needed to be done in order to continue the conversation. Asking him to hold your jacket while you get your items organized. So if you have your jacket, you're getting your Starbucks coffee, and when, I have all this stuff and I'm all kerfuffled, I'll just turn to the guy behind me and be like, can you hold on to this for a minute while I get myself organized? And I grab the jacket. I'm like, thank you very much. And I go sit down. 8 times out of 10, he'll come over and chat to me. You know what I mean? But I wasn't pursuing. What are your thoughts on this, Sean?
Okay, trust me, women, ladies, men are really itching and they're looking for you to give some sort of hint or something to open the door, something that, because I honestly, like, the biggest thing out there that I hear from men, and why men sometimes have a hard time, approaching women, nobody wants to be rejected. And a lot of people fear rejection. I think we all fear rejection, and it's human nature. So a lot of times, we're just looking for that, like, that little piece of, like, opportunity, right? And even myself, even being, well read when it comes to dating, even being well read in attraction and everything else. If I go to a bar somewhere, I'm still even waiting for. Sometimes I'm, waiting for my moment, and it can be a little thing. So and I'm waiting for that little, like, either it'd be the smile, that inviting smile to say, okay, yes, come over and sit down and have a chat. The last thing guys are scared to come across creepy. No guy wants to come across creepy, and that's the biggest fear when we're working with men. Their biggest, that's one of the things that I really try to help them overcome, is that fear of rejection, that fear of coming across creepy. Nobody wants that. So I really do think that this is, like, like what you've described here are great ways to allow a man to approach you, make that first move. Like, even when it comes to online dating, I mean, when you say, hey, like, are we going to be pen pals forever, or are we ever going to meet up? Or, I've had a girl say to me, I don't do this on we've been talking for a couple of days. She goes, you know what? I don't do this just to be a pen pal. And I was like, yes, all right, here's because like,
Yeah.
here's my moment. Well, neither do I. How about that we meet this time, blah, blah, blah. So they're looking at that. And that's where it comes into, okay, but we're talking about pursuing. Yes, the man should pursue. He don't get me wrong. I and that's what I teach. I teach men this about
and men want to pursue. It's not that they should, but they want to.
Yeah, exactly. You're I'm happy you correcting me on that, because it's not that they want because men want to be in that, that masculine energy, and they want women to be in that feminine energy, and by allowing them to pursue, by allowing them to plan the date, if you're comfortable enough with getting picked up, picking you up and opening your door, and making the reservation, and walking you back to your car at the end of the night, all those little chivalry things are what, and even paying at the end of the date, all those different things, allows a man to be in his masculine. And the fact that, like, the female is allowing him to do that puts her in the feminine, and which is where it should be. But giving a little subtle hint, allowing him to pursue you, that's not being forward. That's not being forward. And the thing about it is, I even had, and I love it when I love it. I've had female women do this before, and I love it where they say, hey, what are you up to tonight? Do you want to meet up for a drink? Yeah. Yes, I'd love to. And then I'll, but then, then you allow him to plan the rest of it, say where you're going to meet and what time, etc. And that's, again, allowing him to be in his masculine.
Yeah, I love it. And one interesting point that really was quite epiphany inducing of one of the women that's attending tonight too, is the feminine energy. And this is hard. You guys, we talk about in all of our one-on-one coaching, all of our boot camps, we spend a lot of time on feminine energy, because it's hard for modern day women, because we live in our masculine so much, just living our careers and surviving, and making that bank that we need to bank to live the life we want to live. We have to live in our masculine. So to move into our feminine as modern day women, it can be quite tricky. I know it was really hard for me. But it was really when I was able to do that I saw huge results in my dating life. But the biggest thing for me to move into my feminine was just to hesitate a couple seconds longer than what feels natural or comfortable. So for example, walking up to a door. I would just hesitate a little bit more to give him the time to go for the door and open it for me first. When it came to the bill coming, it was my natural instinct, because it's an awkward situation, to go right in for the bill, right? But I would just hesitate a minute or two to allow him to say, I got this. Or I would say, we can totally go Dutch. He's like, no, you can get it next time. It's just giving that couple of seconds that's needed to allow him to move into that masculine will help you to move into your feminine. So just a little bit of feminine and masculine tips right there is just the tiniest bit of hesitation is going to help you move into that. Okay. Look at you smiling, Sean. What are you smiling at?
No, what you're saying, like, I totally agree. Like, because it's also like, I guess I'm smiling because I know you. So I'm smiling at the fact that, like, I can see, that would have taken you a bit of time just to be, those couple of seconds of, I can see this.
Yeah, it took some training, and it only happened in the dating world. I can't do it anywhere else.
Yes.
That's funny. Okay, now we would be remiss if we didn't talk about sex, okay, when we're talking about men. So what do really men think of sex on the first date? I know this varies by person and other factors could involve, but generally speaking, are most men expecting sex by the third date? Guys only seem to want one thing from me. How can I change their perspective? How do I get it through that I don't want sex on the first date? How do I convey that I need to get to know someone first, and I'm happy to put that time in to do it? And then it goes on to more sex questions. So this is Sean's specialty. But I am going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on sex. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about sex. One of the most common questions asked by women is, how long should I wait to sleep with someone? Now, I don't like to put a number on it because it varies based on person and it varies based on the relationship that's being developed, okay? So I don't like to put a number on it, but I do like to put in a couple of things that should be checked off prior to making that decision. So it is really important to have built an emotional connection with a man, that he has an emotional connection with you prior to sleeping with somebody, okay? Now, it depends on what you're looking for, you guys. As we all know from my introduction, I went through many a hoe phase and I loved it, okay? At that time, I wasn't looking for a relationship. But when I was looking for a relationship, I changed my behavior around sex and dating because it will create different results. Now, in caveman days, which, it's all, a lot of this is science-based and based on evolution and all that, which technically is a theory, but it does make sense. So when men and women have sex, a woman releases a hormone called oxytocin, which actually bonds that woman to the man. When a man has sex and orgasms, he releases, I can't ever remember the name of the hormone, and his testosterone increases, which means that he actually will be chemically repelled by the woman, not in like a bad way, but chemically repelled by a woman, because in caveman days, the man had to go, hunting, and the woman had to maintain the household, and she needed to be connected to that man, because she needed to repel other cavemen that were sniffing around. She had to, keep the house. She had to also, take care of the children by being connected to that man that was out hunting, right? And so you have to be cognizant of those chemicals. Yeah, go for it, Sean.
No, that's on one of your podcasts too.
It is.
One of your guests explained it.
Sex expert.
The sex expert that you had as a guest, and it was very, very, very good, and it was like it made sense, and like the fact that there's actually like biology behind it, like, is even stronger, and I think that, and I really do think that that's I'm happy you mentioned that, because I really do think that it's a good thing for women to understand, like, again, because we're talking about men and female, right? And men and female perspective, and men and women we're biologically like wired differently, so we think a lot differently. So I also get this question a lot from men and women that I work with, and a lot of times it's like, when is it the right time to sleep together? And you mentioned it. I can't agree more that it's all personal preference. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you should wait till here. Like, it's up to you, because I've had this conversation with many, and everybody has a different idea on it or a different agenda, but you also have to make that clear with the person that you are dating. I think that's important. I do think that, like, by having a conversation of exclusivity, et cetera, is a good way to find out their intentions of what they're in this for. There's tons of, like, dating coaches out there. I mean, trust me, I've read it all about, and some of them are like, okay, like there's actually literature out there where they say, well, you should bring a girl out on, like, to 3 different spots in one night, because that way it's like going to 3 different dates, and then girls will normally sleep with you on the 3rd date. Like, there's some of that stuff too. I'm not a believer in that stuff. I just think that, again, pickup artistry, we have to kind of watch it a bit. I really do think that, for me, is personally, it's one of the questions. It's one of the things that you say. Explain to them that, what, if I do, if we do sleep together, there's that means that we're exclusive. And I don't think it's wrong to, at some point, have that conversation with someone. I don't think it's, to with a guy and say, like, what, like, I don't sleep with people on the, until I feel comfortable, and I want to be exclusive with that person. If that's what you're looking for. And you know what? If he's a high value man, like we always talk about, he's going to understand that, and he's going to respect that. And because I know, like, for me, I like that. I know, like, okay, right? And you know what? If he honestly, if a guy goes out on a first date and is expecting sex and is pushing for sex on the first date, I think he's doing your job. He's making your job easier for you. He's showing you what he's there for. Because honestly, in my experience, chances are, if a guy sleeps with you on the first date, it goes back to what you were saying before about the biological thing, about, like, it doesn't. Just from experience, that normally it's kind of got what he wanted and off on the way. So I guess that's my I don't know, Geneva, what do you have to add?
No, I agree with you 100%. And, like, honestly, if you have to communicate to someone that you don't want to have sex on a first date, and you're asking us this, like, nobody of quality expects sex on a first date. Nobody.
Yeah, like, I'm actually surprised, like, when I was seeing those questions, and I was like, really? Like, are guys really pushing that on the first date? Like, I don't ever, like, because I don't ever go and on a first date thinking sex, and I know the clients that I work with are not thinking that either. And what I teach guys is that's not it. So unfortunately, again, we talked about that, the 10% or whatever, that what we focus on. Like, I mean, I'm not denying that there's those guys out there.
Yeah. And that goes into the exclusivity is fine that Shelley's saying. Exclusivity is fine, but how do you know that they're being honest? And honestly, you don't.
No.
But this is the risk that we take in, dating and trusting people. And when we're asking those questions, I feel like there's probably been some situations in the past where they haven't been honest with you, and that sucks that that's happened to you. But, if we were to, for example, do any coaching or go through the process with us, we really teach to change the type of men that we're dating. So if we're dating the same type of men, and we're creating the same results and the same things are happening for us, then really we have to change the type of men we're dating, but also trust that they are not our past partners. What about being overly affectionate and talking dirty on the first date? I feel that means they're looking for sex, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, people don't do that. I mean, you can be a little bit affectionate, but no.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I guess if you're talking about, like, little small sexual innuendos, but still, like, like, as you know, I tell clients to stay away from that topic altogether. Like, don't go there. So I don't know. I just don't feel that on the first date is what, like, that. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't. It depends. I don't think if you're pushing.
That's a quality thing too. Like, quality men, they don't. There might be, like, one sexual innuendo once, just because that's his personality, but it's not like dirty talking on a first date. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into it, we're going to go into Q&A, you guys, but I wanted to talk about, and we're going to get into all your questions because they're going to start coming in big time. Okay. I wanted to talk to you guys a bit. We have like a little bit of a shameless plug right now. You want to put in the link to where they can go check this out. I'm going to take you guys on a bit of a journey on what we're doing here. So all of our coaching, compound dating technique program coachings are 3 months long because that's how long it takes to adjust our mindset, go in with a different dating technique, and really kind of go through and date and enjoy the dating process enough to meet somebody pretty great. Okay. So the compound dating technique program, this is a program that I created, and that's how I met my guy, is the compound dating technique. And it's what I teach lots and lots of other women to meet their guys. JEMatchmaking.com/services is where you're going to find it. So what is it going to include? So this is a one-on-one coaching program. We adjust the program based on your unique needs. So 10 hours of pre-recorded video training and 4 hours of one-on-one sessions with your dating coach. That will be myself. So 10 hours of pre-recorded video. This is from the boot camps. Okay. So you're making sure that you're getting all the boot camp content, and then the 4 1-hour sessions with me are just to keep you motivated, to make sure if there's anything that's coming up, we're specifically addressing them at that time. And what's going to be included? How to take the best performing profile pictures. We talked about pictures a lot today. Building the perfect online dating profile. What's beautiful about the fact that we're out of lockdown and COVID and all that now is we can go out and meet people. So online dating is not going to be our only tool anymore. So we are also going to teach you how to develop the social life that serves your love life. We're going to teach you where to meet men organically. I know. We're going to eliminate limiting beliefs and blocks. We saw a lot of that in the questions that you guys asked before here. And we saw a lot of it in the questions that were asked throughout. There's a lot of limiting beliefs out there that are holding us back from finding somebody really great. Implementing the compound dating technique. So we're going to teach you how to properly do that. And I know a lot of you have, friends of friends have done the boot camp or have done one-on-one coaching or have done the compound dating technique. But this is going to be unique to you and your specific needs, because it is a one-on-one coaching program. Tapping into your feminine energy, which I learned how to do it, so now I can teach it. It's still hard for me, but I can do it. Learning how your attachment style may be harming your relationships, creating a social life that serves your love life, how to flirt over text and in person, how to have an amazing first date. Discovering your frozen vibe, which is always fun. I know you guys don't know what that is, but we discover that. Recognizing a high value man, building confidence, and setting boundaries. So we talked about that a little bit too. So this is what's all included in this one-on-one coaching program that takes 3 months, you guys. So it's really, really, really beneficial. There's a lot of content here. And it's going to completely revamp your brain. So we have gals that are, and if you guys feel like sharing in the comments, we have gals that have done the boot camp and we have gals that are currently doing the boot camp. Just even in the comments, just tell some of these ladies what your thoughts are. Now, this personally is not the boot camp, but it is the compound dating technique, just in a group setting rather than one-on-one. But if you guys feel comfortable sharing, just share what your experience has been or what you've learned the most of or how you feel about dating now after the boot camp. Now, this is really powerful stuff. So basically, when I did the compound dating technique, it was like my last ditch. I'm like, you know what? I am done playing around. I don't want to keep making the same mistakes. I really want to find my guy. I'm not playing around anymore. And so if you guys are feeling that way, I think this might be a really, really good fit for you. But I just wanted to make you guys aware that that is what we are going to be providing until midnight tonight. So if you want to join that, we're going to have a lot of fun together. And also included, if you want to turn one of those one-on-one hours and just jump on a phone call or have a coaching session with Sean where you're like, what do men mean by this? What do men mean by that? We can 100% do that. Just request that as well. And so going back to the presentation, that's one thing that I also wanted to talk about is men. Sean is not currently coaching women fully in like a 3-month process, but we do have a service called Guy Best Friend to the Rescue. He thought of that name. Well done, Sean. I love it. But basically, we're going to go into Q&A right now, which is really powerful stuff. If you are like, my gosh, like I did not realize that this is how men think. Like this is really impactful. And you're having you're having the same thing happening over and over again. You don't know what's going wrong and you don't have a guy best friend to ask. Sean is going to be that person that very bluntly and honestly tells you what's going on. So if you want to jump on a phone call and get Sean's perspective on your unique situation, book in a 1 hour one-on-one phone call with Sean to discuss what may be going on in your dating life from a man's perspective. So that is my beautiful sales technique. For those out of province, can it be down on? Yes, 100%. We have been coaching people in California. We have been coaching people in New Brunswick, Ireland, New Mexico, Ontario, BC. You can be anywhere and we can do it virtually. Actually, I really, really like doing it virtually because I like changing the technique based on the area that you're in. So everything changes based on the area that you're in, which is awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? It can be done anywhere. You can be in Halifax. You can be in Antarctica. You can do whatever you want. And same with Sean's phone calls. So whatever you want to do, you are more than welcome to do that.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Book of Love podcast. What'd you think about what we were talking about today? Did it do little epiphanies for you like it did for me? Or did you disagree with anything? I would love to hear what you guys thought. Send me an email, jematchmaking@gmail.com. Feedback is always so appreciated. But personally, I think that this whole webinar was very powerful, especially the ick to yum theory, because we have to remember that not everybody is going to like us. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, just like not everybody's our cup of tea. So we have to really hold space for that and not waste time for somebody that doesn't say yum when they see us, and to better spend our time looking for those who do. And so be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever it is you get podcasts, and leave a review and leave a 5-star rating. Now, reviews are so powerful. Take 35 seconds out right now, go over and leave a review. It's what makes people know that this is a worthwhile podcast to listen to. So if you got anything out of today's episode, please go leave a review. Other than that, thank you so much. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, no longer at J-E Matchmaking, now Book of Love Canada. And I'm excited to open up the Book of Love with all of you.